All right, welcome back to the Cyber Talk with Bob and Chris. I'm Chris. Bob
I'm Bob.
graciously, yes, and Bob graciously allowed me to do the intro because we've noticed that Bob's always in the intro. Personally, I don't care, but Bob insisted that I do it today. So, what we want to talk about today is two things: Felina, which is out in the wild still. You can refer to that as Felina. You can refer to that as CVE 2022-30190. But basically, we talked about it last week, where it's in the wild, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, whatever. People could just preview an Outlook email, preview a Word email, and they could get infected with any kind of like ransomware malware. It was actively being exploited. So Microsoft Tuesday decided to patch it, but the patch only seems to mitigate what's happening in the wild today, and we think that there might be a way that this is going to be exploited in the future. And we want you to be very clear. You should patch it. You need to install the patch, but we're going to keep an eye on this, and we'll report back later about how if there's any kind of side channel attacks or anything like that can happen from this. So, have you seen any in the wild, Bob?
I haven't seen it in a while, but we're pretty proactive about disabling it across the board. I was talking to somebody last night who, I told him about the patch, and I told him we were going to be doing this today. And I told him about the patch. I said, make sure you go run your own patches. And he's like, well, yeah, I ran it. I don't see anything getting installed. Well, it turns out he's running Windows 7, so he might not be getting a patch.
Probably not. Probably not at this point anyway.
So he's like, yeah, but I like it better. I was like, no, Mikey, it's got to go away. And so that's a project that I have to give back to him and say, it's time to do some upgrades. And, people just don't realize that this old stuff is so dangerous.
Well, and to that point, yesterday, Microsoft officially ended support for Internet Explorer. So now we should go back and ask this guy where he's using Internet Explorer too, because now we're just going to double down on how bad this is.
Well, I don't even know if Internet Explorer 11 even ran on Windows 7.
yeah, it did. Yeah,
oh, okay.
It ran. Should he be using it? No, but if he's still running Windows 7, he kind of scares you into thinking, hey, maybe they're still running Windows 11, Internet Explorer 11.
Speaking of Internet Explorer 11, we saw some phishing attempts this week come in through fake QuickBooks emails informing people about it when Internet Explorer 11 and with some malicious links in them.
Click here to download, and we'll help you fix it.
Yep.
We've seen some of that. We saw 2 active attacks for Felina, but they were both stopped because one, we had the mitigation in, and one of our endpoint detection response tools, we had them build in some logic to it, and it ended up stopping one of the attacks. I personally got an email that looked like it was trying to get me to open up something. So I just, of course I didn't open it, but I still have the email just in case. So I might open that up in like a sandbox environment where I can just see what happens when it gets detonated. But so yeah, we've had a pretty good success run with that. Internet Explorer, I mean, we pretty much killed off Internet Explorer a long time ago, but there are still some users who insist on using it. So I'm hoping Microsoft gives us an easy way just to remove it in the future.
Yeah, removing it would be key. And
and they do have Edge that can run a version, like it can emulate Internet Explorer, and it's supported till 2029. So anybody that out there that has like applications that may not work with like Edge or Chrome or things like that, it's something we could talk about how we can run that. And Microsoft is supporting that until 2029. So
how do we get the protection that Microsoft released this week?
Run Windows Update.
Yes, so run Windows Update on everything you got, guys.
Everything. Yeah, Windows 10, Windows 11 will definitely be patched. Windows 7 probably. I don't think they did anything for Windows 7. Microsoft has reversed course a couple times on serious patches and did it, but this is because this specifically involves Office and the diagnostic tool. I don't think they're going to patch Windows 7. It doesn't sound like it. Windows 8. If you're still running Windows 8, by the way, you could patch that. If you're still running Windows 8, please just go get Windows 10, at least.
Microsoft Windows Update tool, Windows 10 update tool works just fine.
Yeah. And if you have any problems with that, there are some tools out there you can troubleshoot with. And if you have a problem, just reach out to us. We can kind of flow you some ideas.
Oh, I was going to say something. I forgot.
That's what happens when we're going live like this. The other big news for the week. So we've covered two things. Is the DOJ, the Department of Justice, decided that they did not want to keep. They want to change the policy internally to not charge ethical hackers and security researchers under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of 1986. Now that act has been modified a couple times since then, but realistically, if you were a security researcher and ethical hacker, there's a chance you could actually violate federal law just by doing ethical things and helping people, out by finding vulnerabilities and reporting them. Now, that hasn't been abused legally. There was a case in Missouri where the state was going to think about doing it for a reporter that basically found out that on a state website they could get the social security numbers of teachers. But this is good news from a policy perspective, but it really needs to be law. We shouldn't be prosecuting people who are doing ethical hacking and doing security research. That's for the benefit of all of us. Like the risk of them going to jail for that is just ludicrous. And I mean, I get when they made the law in 1986, there were some circumstances around that, and I forgot. I think they modified in like 92 and 2008. I think sometimes around there. But they've done a couple of modifications, but they need to modify the law further and say, hey, look, if this is done under ethical pretenses, we should not be prosecuting them, and change that, because this is just a policy right now. That policy could easily be reversed in the future.
Yeah, especially if it's under contract too. You have an initial contract, start an investigation with somebody, and then as the guys get into it, they just go very deep into, oh, I got this, and then the people are like, oh, well, we didn't want you to do that.
Yeah, and suddenly they say you violated the agreement, and then they turn you over, and some prosecutor gets excited about it and says, oh, I'm going to prosecute him under this. Now, would they get convicted of it? Probably not, but you don't want to go to court for that and deal with that.
It's still time and money, and
Oh yeah, that's a waste of time and money. It's a waste of resources that we should be using other places. As we go forward, we look at the changes that CISA's made with the reporting for like critical infrastructure that's going to be probably determined the next couple of years. The SEC's got their thing right now where they're talking about if you're a public company, you're going to have to report within 4 days. That's not official yet. That's like an opinion right now. They're taking comments for it. But this just kind of goes to show we need these people out there that are doing ethical hacking and doing security research to help us all stay safe. Especially like for Felina, a lot of them jumped on this when Felina first got released. They jumped on it to show like the POCs and then helped with some of the mitigation techniques that could happen.
Oh, that's what I just remembered what I was going to say before. So the Felina vulnerability, which is in Windows 10. Could be in previous versions of Windows. We've seen that in the past where when Patch Tuesday comes around, Microsoft releases a patch, but it turns out a lot of times what they're releasing has existed in Windows pretty much forever. So that's what, and that's why we're recommending that people always run their updates and always, get rid of those unsupported operating systems, because one, your insurance company is going to go nuts if they see that running in when you do have a breach. And it's not that much different, guys. And people are like, well, I like the old way. Well, it's time to move on.
We saw this last year with Print Nightmare, where it took from June till September before they finally had all the patches done for Print Nightmare, because they kept patching it and people kept finding workarounds to bypass it. That's why you got to be a little hesitant with this Felina patch. And even for current people, it's like, hey, this may not fix it completely. So we may see subsequent patches from Microsoft to kind of address this in the future. So we got to stay vigilant with this stuff. Like Bob said, we got to get rid of Windows 7. It has no business being in the environment. If you do have Windows 10 or Windows 8 and you do have Server 2012, just realize that next year in October, they're gone. Microsoft pushed that back, but they're end of life as well. So I think most people hated the Metro interface, so they probably moved on anyway. But got that going for us.
I was trying to get some SEO off of that, considering our name, but didn't go anywhere with that. Anyway, if people don't know everything that's in their environment, how can you help?
We can do a cybersecurity risk assessment. We have tools to collect information. Both of us do. We can go through. We can do vulnerability scanning. We can do, like for us, we can do some penetration testing, depending on what you're looking for. But We recommend that everybody start with a cybersecurity risk assessment because you got to know where you're at, got to know your starting point. Don't be scared. You're going to see stuff that, quite frankly, you probably don't want to see, but it's better to know it exists, and we can look at the risks and we can kind of put a score to them and figure out like what we have to attack first. I think that's important for every business.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and find the problems before the bad guys do, because you're literally one click away from a data breach, no matter what company you're at. And let's go ahead and assess that risk and go from there. That's all I got for this week, Chris.
Yeah, I think we covered enough right now. So, we haven't had too many comments about what we should post. So we encourage everybody to comment on our video. Let us know what you want to see. If you have any questions, let us know, because we'd love to kind of build out like a Q&A section to where maybe one of these videos is just literally answering questions, or even bring somebody on. If you want to come on, you want to talk about your business, maybe you've seen something, let us know. We're more than willing to.
So actually, there was a comment that came in. One of the comments that came in last week. I think last week we talked about the school system that
New Jersey. Yep.
In New Jersey that actually had a cyber attack, and they the students didn't have finals because of it, because everything was taken offline. Somebody commented, why would somebody attack a school? I was like, guys, there's so much data in a school from about the students that if the bad guys are able to get birthdays, social security numbers, and now they've got years of data that's sitting out just to go and open up new accounts and do things. It's a smorgasbord of data out there just on students.
Well, we went from closed to restarting this, but to that point, to your point about social security numbers, you should be running credit checks on your kids, because anybody under 18, they will try to steal this information from schools, open up credit accounts, and then just by the time your kid's 18 and they try to apply for credit, their credit can be ruined. So you 100% want to be running credit checks on your kids. So that's why. To Bob's point, that's why, right? There's so many important information, but like if they can get a social security number of a 5-year-old and you're not checking on it, they can just open up credit accounts. So
great.
All right. Now that
that kind of extended the call, but maybe we'll talk about something else next week. Maybe we'll talk about PII next week and where it really sits in your business.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and until next week, stay cyber safe.